3 truths about Azmodan's crown, 2 will unravel his victory. His soul, trapped in the black soul stone, writhes under Nephilim light, a triumph. Stone waits trapped in the sanctuary's black soul bones, stone, purpose, now. Now the stone pulses a prison without a key, but what if the key was never meant to unlock it? What if it was meant to be consumed? Titans, stone waits. Azmodan's triumph was no victory. A lesser evil bound to serve, he became the architect of Sanctuary's undoing, his crown. A vessel for the sins, not a symbol of power. By crushing the Horadrim, he shattered the barriers holding the Seven at bay. Their corruption seeped into the world's bones, but why would Hell's pawn orchestrate such a slow-burn betrayal? Because Azmodan's masters did not crave Diablo's return, the asterisk required asterisk it. The Black Soulstone's prison remained sealed, but its locks are not the only gate. A king's death births a legacy. Diablo's absence, engineered by the very war that defeated him, left a void only his return could fill. And fill it they would. The sins were never the weapon, they were the bait. The stone's true key still sleeps. But Sanctuary's rot is already awake. The chasm split at Saram's heart when Azmodan drew breath, a cry that shook the crystal arch. Heaven's light fractured, Hell's 7 heads hissed in unison. A shepherd's wife bore a prince whose eyes held dying stars. He climbed Hell's spires not with force but guile. The Book of Cain whispers how he outwitted Belial's greed, Israfel's pride. Each victory etched his name deeper into infernal code. Yet his crown, forged in Sin War's ash, gleamed with hollow sheen. The triune fell, the cathedral crumbled. Nephilim blood painted Curast's plains. But Azmodan's triumph was a serpent's grin. The 7 sins, loosed as chaos, did not conquer the asterisk infiltrated asterisk. A shepherd's son became Hell's puppet master, threading corruption into prayers' blades. Did he foresee the black soul stones whisper beneath Tristram? Or was he merely the fulcrum, the first crack in a door older than Tathamet, the crown's true purpose, not to rule but to asterisk awaken asterisk? A key without a lock until the stone's heart found its match. Sanctuary's rot spreads, the sins feast. And in the void where his ambition burned brightest, something older stirs patient, hungry, whole. The gates of bastions keep cracked under Azmodan's siege. Fire rained from his legions, sulfur-stained and screaming. He believed himself a conqueror, a god of wariat. His specters bled truth into the air, daily parades of strategy for any Nephilim with eyes to see. Watched, wary at his unblinking, arrogance daily carved his own doom. Strategy for any what Nephilim with kind of eyes to see general broadcasts his blade's edge to the enemy. The blood-packed wraiths, translucent and writhing, carried his voice like a dirge. They spoke of breaches in the western ramparts, of the timing of his spectral battering rams. The keep's defenders did not tremble, they waited. Azmodan's crown, forged in the molten heart of the burning hells, gleamed with a promise, asterisk obedience asterisk. He offered it to the 7 deadly sins, not as a truce but as a tirai. Pride, envy, gluttony each took their share of the prize, their whispers threading through his commands. He thought to leash them. He failed. The sins did not serve, they asterisk devoured asterisk. When the keep fell, it was not to Hell's might but to the rot Azmodan had sown. The 7 sins slithered through the broken stones, their corruption seeping into Sanctuary's veins. The Edoram, Lilith's forsaken, awoke in the shadows, their hunger now twinned to the sins. Tyrael's first judgment burned not with light but with warning asterisk. This was not victory asterisk. Mephisto, ever the strategist, saw the trap too late. The Black Soulstone's prison remained sealed, but its locks had asterisk rattled asterisk. Azmodan's triumph had carved a door, wide enough for the sins to feast on mortal souls for centuries. The Nephilim, those fragile hybrids, became the sins' playthings. Their wars, their loves, their deaths all fuel for a fire Azmodan could not extinguish. He raged against the betrayal, but the damage was etched in stone. The crown he wore was no crown, it was a scar, a wound in the fabric of the world. And in that wound, something older than Hell itself began to stir. The sin war did not end with Azmodan's rise. It asterisk paused asterisk. A breath before the storm, a whisper before the scream. The realm of sin gasps. Azmodan falls, his essence torn by Nephilim steel. The Black Soulstone drinks deep, a tyrant's end, no, a gambit. His soul, fractured, becomes both prison and bait. The 7 deadly sins coil within its obsidian depths, waiting. Sanctuary's walls tremble, not from his defeat. From his foresight, he knew the Horadrim would seal him, knew the stone would sleep, but sin is patient, it does not need to roar. It only needs to seep into dreams, into laws, into the cracks between sacred oaths. Azmodan's crown, a hollow circlet, a lie carved in bone. Its true power was never to rule hell, it was to rot the world above. The Nephilim call it victory. They see the soul stone as a tomb, they do not see the roots. The sins, starved but alive, whisper to kings and zealots alike. Greed and gold, pride and crowns, wrath and holy wars. Azmodan's prison is no lock, it is a key, turned slowly, gently. The walls of sanctuary, so pure, so fragile, crumble from within. What is a god but a mirror? Azmodan's final act was not to die. It was to become a shadow in the mind of every mortal who bends, every choice that tips toward shadow. The stone sits in its shrine cold, but inside a storm brews, a symphony of corruption. The 7 sins, once his weapons, now gnaw at the ribs of heaven. The Horadrim built a monument, they did not see the trap. How could they? The cage was gilded, the poison sweet. Azmodan's laughter echoes in every betrayal, his triumph in every fall. The sin war did not end with his death, it changed a serpent shedding skin and sanctuary, it sleeps, unaware it is the stone's next meal. But to understand Diablo's return, see how Azmodan's victory was atop a crown forged not in fire, but in the cold calculus of sacrifice. The pact of the world stone sealed the sins away, or so the Horadrim believed. Its shimmering chains masked a deeper truth, every glyph etched was a thread in the black soul stone's net. Sanctuary's salvation became its shackle. The lie festers still, rot beneath the soil where the world's stone once stood. What does a god gain by defeating his brothers? A throne built on their bones, and beneath that throne, a door that hums. Beneath that throne, a door that hums. Angiris did not shatter the world stone to weaken gods. He dimmed the Nephilim's spark, leaving mortals brittle as autumn leaves. The black soul stone, fractured in row did not weep demons, it sang. A hymn to sin, to the 7 cracks in human hearts, pride, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, gluttony, lust, not flaws, locks. Each key cut from a soul left too long in shadow. Sanctuary's mortals, heaven's hosts, the unborn Edorim all burned to fuel the fire that made those keys. Azmodan's crown, a hollow circlet, no victory. A vault's latch, pried in by the weight of what was sacrificed. The 7 deadly sins did not corrupt sanctuary, they became it. A city's breath turned toxic, a temple's light choked to ash, a child's future snuffed before its first cry. What is a god's triumph when the price is a world's slow unraveling? The door still hums, and behind it something waits, not for a key. For a home. The pact sealed his name in ash, sanctuary exhaled, hell's chains cooled. But Azmodan's sword, broken in the final strike, split the black soul stone's prison wider than any Horadrim spell. A god of war became a wound-high's essence bound to the shattered stone, a cage within a cage. He who wore the title Lord of Terror now wore the weight of silence, no longer a commander, but a monument. His rage, once a wildfire, pooled into something colder, a whisper in the cracks of the world stone. The 7 sins, those children of his ambition, did not fade. They seeped into the soil, into the blood of those who rebuilt, not as conquerors. As roots, what becomes of a king when his kingdom forgets him? Azmodan's crown, that infernal circlet, was no tirai, it was a lockpick. Each Cenakedern, pride in the spires of New Tristram, sloth in the hollowed hearts of heroes. The stone's fragments, scattered like bones, did not shatter. They waited the world stone's pact bought peace. It also bought a slow poison. Every relic forged, every soul bound to sanctuary's salvation, carried an echo. A debt, the 7 sins were not invited into the world stone's code. They were woven into it, threads of corruption in every thread of he. And Azmodan, his voice once a roar, became a hum, a resonance in the soul stone's dark core. When the stone was finally reforged, its prison not of demons but of balance his prison end, not to rule, to return . For what is a god but the shadow of his own design? The black soul stone was never his prison, it was his bridge . A god's crown, a key, a wound all the same, and sanctuary in its desperate salvation built its walls on a pyre. The seven sins do not sleep, they breathe in every heartbeat, every betrayal, every choice. The door to hell was never sealed, it was redecorated . And behind it Azmodan waits, not for war, for welcome. The black soulstone's fragments lie buried where the worldstone once stood, not sealed, not destroyed, ajar. Azmodan's stolen crown, forged in the fires of defiance, did not shatter the stone. It split the veil between realms, a wound, a threshold. Mortal blood seeps into its cracks, feeding a hunger that was never meant to touch this world. The seven sins slither through the fractures now. Not as prisoners, as patrons, their whispers curl through cities, through kings' thrones, through the hollow eyes of the broken. Azmodan's victory was no triumph. It was a surrender sanctuary's soul offered on a platter, wrapped in the illusion of freedom. The Horadrim's legacy, their endless wars, their feudal seals all led here, to this slow, grinning rot, what waits beneath the soil, not Diablo, not Baal. Not even Mephisto, a shadow broader than any crown, a hunger that wears human faces. The prison's door is in, the guests are arriving. And the stone, it hums, a dirge, a welcome, the end. Azmodan's crown was a gambit, a hollow circlet to mask the true prize, the right to let corruption seep upward. He did not conquer sanctuary. He invited it, each sin a thread, each thread a noose. Angiris, blind to the puppetry, carved his own chains in hell's forge. Mephisto's tortures were not punishment, they were a harvest. A soul split, a legacy fractured. Tyrell stood apart. His wings, once symbols of order, became instruments of rupture. He did not bargain, he did not calculate. When the vote was cast, when the scales trembled, he chose to sever, to let sanctuary burn or not. The weight of that choice was not in the outcome, it was in the refusal to inherit the curse. Azmodan's trap was a mirror. In it Angiris saw a god, Tyrell saw a price, one legacy built on stolen knowledge, the other a sacrifice to unmake it. The seven sins did not invade sanctuary, they were granted entry, a crown's hollow promise, a archangel's silent atonement. What remains is the shadow of that divide, Angiris' name etched in suffering, Tyrell's whispered in the stones that still resist. Power and knowledge it wins born of hubris, one ends gates, the other closes them. The black soulstone hums still, waiting not for a key, for a hand willing to let it sleep. The Horadrim struck the final blow, their fire lit the sky, yet in that smoke a shadow smiled. Azmodan's soul did not perish. It pooled in the stone, a serpent coiled around a lock. The seven sins slumbered there, not bound breeding, waiting for a world ripe with light to rot. Sanctuary's walls were raised to keep hell out. They did not know they were building a womb. A crown of bone and starlight, a lie, a mask for the truth. The stone's hunger was the victory. The angels sang of a devil's defeat. They did not hear the key turn in the door. The black soul stone was never a prison for Azmodan, it was a key. And sanctuary is the door, what waits on the other side, not salvation, not ruin, a mirror, polished, ready to shatter. Did Azmodan trade hell's chains for sanctuaries? The black soul stone's shatter wasn't an indit, was a resonance. Seven sins, now loose, hum within its fractured core. What if Diablo Roman 4 chaos is their symphony? The crown opened a door, but the stone was the amplifier. Your sins don't hide, they wait. Next,